The biggest thing that's really happened in the last week, and so there's been some stuff around, Pennsylvania has made some changes. We're going to see some increase in capacity around restaurants and gatherings, and we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks because that doesn't go into effect for a little while. But the big thing that's happened in the last week is the stimulus relief package was passed and signed into law. It's known as the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, so ARPA, another acronym to learn. The biggest three takeaways, I think, from the employer's perspective, and we're putting an alert out on this as well. That'll hopefully go out today. But to me, the biggest three takeaways are the voluntary further extension and some changes to FFCRA, unemployment compensation insurance expansion, and COBRA subsidies. So let's talk about that. So just to give you a refresher, FFCRA, we all know this was paid leave that was mandated for last year. It expired on its own terms December 31st of 2020. And there were two components. There was emergency paid sick leave, 10 days of paid leave time, and there was emergency Family Medical Leave Act time. Okay, so these were the 6 enumerated reasons. I'm not going to read through them all. The 6 enumerated reasons for emergency paid sick leave. And then the additional time, the FMLA time, and this I know tripped up some employers, was really only for childcare. So you had all your reasons around COVID. Someone was quarantining, someone was waiting for test results, and then your extended time was because schools were closed and someone needed to be at the home for childcare purposes. Okay, so what we saw in the stimulus package that was passed back in December was FFCRA was expanded on a voluntary basis through March 31st of this year. And some employers did it, some employers did not. The key was that if you chose to do it, you needed to do it fairly and consistently, right? You can't offer it to one employee and not another employee. And if you do it as an employer, you can get the tax credit. Again, for employers with fewer than 500 employees. FFCRA has been extended now again through this new relief package, now going through September 30th of 2021. There are a couple of significant changes, though. The first extension didn't really change anything, but we've got additional reasons for time off. And that's around vaccination. So if you need to get a vaccination, or your employees need to get a vaccination, or employees need to recover from side effects due to the vaccination, we've heard from a lot of folks that that day after the second dose especially can be a little bit of a doozy. So they can get paid time off to get the vaccine, to recover from the vaccine. Also significantly, we had a lot of questions around this after the first of the year. The 10 days of emergency paid sick leave will now reset. Originally, it was you got 10 days as of March of last year, and that was it. If you used them, too bad. But now you can reset that time for your employees. FMLA does not necessarily reset, but that's going to depend on your own policies and procedures. If you have questions about that, a specific case, talk to your employment attorney, obviously at the hotline, or member legal services, and we can talk you through that. And now the emergency FMLA is not just available for childcare purposes, it's available for all the qualifying reasons under the emergency paid sick leave. So significant changes are coming their way. So you need to make the decision now. Even if you didn't extend originally the voluntary leave through March of this year, maybe you want to start it up now, extend it now, something to think about from an employer's perspective. The unemployment insurance expansion, this is significant because that additional $300 a week that was coming from the federal government was set to expire yesterday, 2 days ago, March 14th. It's now extended through September 6th. So that's significant for people who've been laid off due to COVID reasons, people who've lost their job for COVID reasons. And then the COBRA expansion, this also could be a big deal for a lot of employees who've lost their jobs due to COVID. This is a 100% subsidy that goes through the employer through tax credits, and they pass that along to the employee. So that's for the time period is April 1st, 2021 through September 30th of 2021 that you can get the subsidy. And it doesn't have to be for people losing their jobs right now. It can be for people who lost their jobs within the last basically year. Because it goes for 18 months. People have lost their jobs, whether they elected COBRA or not. So they'll be able, even if they didn't elect COBRA, they could elect it now. If you've got somebody who lost their job, still doesn't have healthcare coverage, wants to elect the COBRA, they can get that subsidy. So that's a big deal. I would talk to your your broker, your healthcare insurance carrier to talk through the mechanics of this, but that could be a big deal. And I know one of the biggest concerns, because I've talked to so many employers who've been laying people off in the last year, and nobody's happy about that situation. And one of the biggest concerns is what's going to happen to their healthcare. So this helps answer that question. And then I just wanted to go through this again. I know we talked about this last week, but in case you missed it, and I want to make sure the slides are there so that when we distribute them afterwards, you see them. Changes in the guidance from the CDC for folks who've been fully vaccinated, and stay tuned in this space. I think what we're going to see is every few weeks, we're going to get updates from the CDC, and hopefully there's going to be more freedoms given to people who are fully vaccinated as we get more and more people who are fully vaccinated. Remember that fully vaccinated means 2 weeks past either your second dose of a 2-dose vaccine or 2 weeks post the single J&J vaccine. Okay, so fully vaccinated people can visit with other fully vaccinated people indoors, no masks, no social distancing. Can visit with unvaccinated people from a single household who are low risk, no masks, no social distancing. Can refrain from quarantine and testing following a known exposure as long as they remain asymptomatic. So that's the key. That's the third one, really is the key right now for employers. This may change. You might want to revisit your quarantining, your isolation policies and practices. And this is a good reason. Getting asked this question a lot. Should we be keeping track of people who've been vaccinated, be getting proof from our employees of their vaccinations? To me, this is the reason to do that, because it could change the way you handle things. And remember, if you're going to get proof of vaccination, that's confidential medical information. Keep that quiet. I've gotten a lot of questions from members. Can we start telling employees who's been vaccinated and who hasn't? I think I got a question from one member. Could we, let somebody like wear a little badge that shows they've been vaccinated? No. So it still is confidential medical information. Employees are free to share that with each other if they so choose, and chances are they will. But you as the employer cannot be announcing, and you want to keep that medical information separate. And keep in mind that when you're asking for proof of vaccination, you're asking for the card, that's it. Which I think pretty much everybody is getting when they get vaccinated. You are not asking any additional questions. So if you ask an employee, have you been vaccinated? They say no, you're not saying why not, because that could lead to a medical inquiry that would be violating the Americans with Disabilities Act. Okay, and then of course, and this also applies to the workplace, just because you have employees who've been vaccinated, they still have got to wear their masks, they still got to socially distance. That stuff's not going away anytime soon. And one of the challenges around that, remember, is because we don't know who's been vaccinated or who hasn't in the general public, right? If we say that you don't have to wear a mask because if you've been vaccinated, how many people do you think would say they've been vaccinated just to not walk around with a mask? So avoid the large gatherings. People who have been vaccinated still should be getting tested if they have COVID symptoms. Keep in mind, just because you've been vaccinated does not mean you can't get COVID. It just greatly reduces the risk of getting COVID, and it may reduce symptoms if you do get it. And still, we've got to be following our travel requirements and all guidances issued by employers. Hopefully you have in place your safety plan to employees, and we're going to talk more and more hopefully in the coming weeks about getting back to the physical workspace, and that safety plan is going to be real important. So for those of you who have not gone through PSO training, I'll give another plug for the PSO training that we're doing on Friday. I'll be doing that, but the bulk of the training will come from Erin Rimza from our safety partner CMI, and you guys have seen her on this town hall before. Erin's fantastic. Great time to sort of get access to her information, get access to her slides. And so you'll have a lot of good safety information. Okay, so I know we did run over with time a little bit, but Kevin, was there anything that came through that I can address?
Yeah, one of the questions for the updated FFRCA, does the reset start on 1/1/21 or when a company sets it?
As far as the
10 days.
We think the 10 days, it's really just a reset for everybody. So if you've used your 10 days already, oh, I see the question. So if somebody used their 10 days last year, have already used their 10 days this year, I think you could probably voluntarily extend that again, but I would question whether or not you could get whether the tax credit is available to you. but as I'm sort of talking out loud, thinking it through. So you were not resetting the 10 days as of January 1st. So the 10 days are going to reset now, I guess, is the answer. And if you have specific questions about a specific situation, you remember, get in touch with us on the hotline. We'll talk you through it.
Can an employer pick and choose portions of the FFCRA to extend?
So we've talked through this before on this town hall. We think the answer is probably yes. You could do the 10 days, but not the extended FMLA. We said that before. I don't know if that's the case anymore now that all of the FMLA reasons are the same as the extended sick leave reasons. I would think if you're going to extend it, let's extend the whole thing. I think you're probably going to be safer there.
Well, I think the question was, if it's voluntary, can you choose which of the things are covered activities that you're willing to do it for?
Oh, no, I would say no. For example, say, oh yeah, we're willing to give you time off, paid time off for the vaccine, but not for quarantining or not for childcare. I would say that that's probably not something I would recommend.
And then for the granting time off for vaccine appointments, do you think you have to require proof of vaccine appointment?
We haven't gotten any guidance from the Department of Labor as to what you can now request under these new reasons. That certainly sounds reasonable to me, but stay tuned. I'm hoping in the next week or so, week or 2 weeks, hopefully by the time we have our next town hall, DOL will put out some Q&As on this.
Okay, and then I think last one, someone asked if there's do you know if there's going to be an updated FFCRA poster released?
I would think that would be the case as well. So again, this just passed on Thursday. So hopefully by the time we meet again, we'll have some updates for you.
Okay. Just look on the other side. Can we ask employees to sign a release so they come back to office for work?
Well, asking an employee to sign a release isn't going to be that helpful because the employee can't sign away their workers' comp rights. So I know that some businesses are looking at releases for visitors. And that's a little bit outside my area of expertise because that's not employment law, but I know that some folks are putting those together, but it's not going to be that helpful for your employees because if they get sick at work, it's a workers' comp event, or they get the virus at work, it's a workers' comp event and they can't sign that right away.
And someone else has OSHA posted anything new that you're aware of? I think we talked about March 15th was a deadline.
Yeah, we are waiting for some additional OSHA stuff. I'm hoping that Aaron and I are going to cover some of that on Friday at the PSO training.
So if there's anything new there, we'll update it next week.
Yep.
All right, I think that's it. Well, thank you, everybody. It was sorry to run over, but we really had good conversations on both of these areas. So, and Amy, I believe your alert did go out yesterday, so take a look for that. It's both on the OSHA rule, CDC rules, as well as something else you did. But keep an eye out. If you didn't get it, just let us know. All right, thanks, everybody. Take care.